Uh, Let me start out with your first takeaways from the Union Budget 2024. What did you make of what was announced today, sir?
So, I think it's a very progressive, very forward-looking budget. It lays the roadmap for the next 3 decades for India. It's a budget with a lot of financial discipline, but at the same time lays a lot of stress on employment creation. I think very simply, it's a growth-oriented budget with focus on employment.
Yes. Also, as far as, of course, the push that the Prime Minister had emphasized on in his second term as well, on the poor, on the youth, on farmers and on women, do you believe that has also stayed in the continuity approach of the government today as well?
Well, I think if you look across the budget, there's huge emphasis on job creation. And job creation not just for men, but for women in a very big way. There's a huge focus on women in particular. There's a huge focus on women-led development. Also, there's a massive focus on agriculture sector in terms of vegetable cultivation, in terms of new horticultural crops. And, so overall in totality, if you look at it, the 4 key pillars of this budget have been addressed in a very big way in this budget.
Yes. Mr. Kant, also now, we have seen, of course, even in the budget that was announced in February this year, Ms. Sitharaman had resisted the urge to be populist. And even today, do you believe this has been a fine balancing act budget with, the need to be fiscally prudent, to continue to maintain our fiscal deficit where it is and perhaps bring it even lower, and also the coalition pressures, which analysts say could have also weighed in on today's budget?
So it's a budget with a huge amount of fiscal discipline, because she's brought down the fiscal deficit from 5.1 to 4.9%. She says she'll bring it down to 4.5% by next year. And then have a gliding path to bring it down further lower, depending on the GDP. So it shows a lot of discipline, because she's kept the expenditure on infrastructure very high at 11 lakh crore, at 3.4% of GDP. She's brought these huge packages for a number of states, and she's laid emphasis on industrial parks, etc. But the fiscal discipline, the macroeconomic stability is all spelt out in the budget. So it's a budget which has the big picture of fiscal discipline, keeping inflation under check, which is very important in a large economy like ours, because inflation then starts impacting common people. She's managed that beautifully and yet focused on growth with jobs.
Okay. What about the middle class, sir? Do you believe they should be happy with today's budget? There have, of course, been tweaks in standard deduction, which will be cheer for the employed class of the country, but no holistic changes just yet to the taxation structure.
So Uday, we should look at the budget from the perspective of its overall growth. If the economy grows, if India grows, the middle class will grow. Now, the middle class will grow in many ways in this budget, with better infrastructure creation, 3.4% capex of the GDP on infrastructure was all beneficial to the middle class. The angel tax being done away for startups will benefit the middle class. All this is beneficiary to the middle class. The tax deduction, 17,500 rupees, is all beneficial to the middle class. But overall, I think the budget gives you a good feel factor for the middle class, because the India in the long term will grow, and that will benefit the middle class in a very big way.
The MSME sector, sir, that's also a sector that, of course, does lead to a lot of jobs being created. Will they be happy also with the budget today?
I think there's a lot of stress on MSMEs, but particularly one particular scheme of this credit guarantee for MSMEs, that they can, that was tried out during the COVID period, and it yielded very good results. Many MSMEs could flourish, survive the COVID period because of the credit guarantee scheme. That credit guarantee scheme has now been extended for their machinery, etc. And they can avail up to 100 crores of credit guarantee with government creating a credit guarantee fund for the MSME. So that's a very big step forward for the MSME sector.
Absolutely. And of course, you mentioned the decision on angel tax earlier as well. I have to ask you, though, one question on the capital gains tax announcement by the FM. That's, an announcement that has led to a lot of chatter today. Also, the market did fall a bit earlier in the day. What do you make of that decision? What was the rationale behind that, according to you?
So there are two aspects to that. One is that they've tried to bring all asset class at the same level of tax at 12.5%. Long-term tax has been kept at 12.5%, which used to be 10%, has been taken to 12.5%. And the other bit is that, for real estate sector, indexation has been removed. Now, indexation meant that earlier the tax was 20%, and without indexation has been brought down to 12.5%. So long-term equity and real estate all are being treated at the same level at 12.5%. This brings in predictability and consistency. This brings in stability, and I think the capital markets will soon realize that it's good for the people of India. It's good that there's predictability, consistency, and stability across asset class, so that you can have your pick of buying real estate or equity, but all of them will have the same level of tax. And that, to my mind, is good.
Absolutely. Okay, final question to you. Do you believe this also, coupled with the findings of the economic survey yesterday, are laying the foundations and fundamentals again in this Modi 3.0 term as well for solid growth over the next 5 years and ahead, as India, of course, continues to aim to become the third largest economy in the world?
Yeah, so the economic survey is talking about 6.5 to 7% rate of growth, which is very moderate. Whereas the country, if you want to be a developed economy, be a Viksit Bharat by 2047, we have to be more ambitious and aim at 8.5 to 9% growth, to my mind. The budget lays the road for that. Accelerate the pace of growth. You're growing at 8.2%, we can accelerate it further to 9% plus. I think that should be our ambition and that should be our target, and the budget clearly lays the roadmap for that with focus on capex expenditure. It provides a lot of right kind of focus on research and development, on several areas of growth, which to my mind will also spur the private sector spending in a big way in the coming days. I'm seeing green shoots of the private capex starting, and over a period of time the private sector will take over the government spending on capital expenditure.
And that's been a buzzword, capex, Mr. Kant, if I can address that with you, of the government, even in the last budgets in the Modi 2.0 term, even when of course you were in the Niti Aayog, the focus on capital expenditure, do you believe, has led to the kind of dividends that the government wanted over the last few years, and that's why the focus and the increase continues?
Yeah, of course. What the government has done is spectacular in terms of capex spend from 1% to 3.4%. That has enabled it to create 30 million houses. It's enabled it to provide 120 million toilets. It's enabled it to provide electricity to all our houses. It's enabled it to provide 253 million piped water connections. So all this is a function of the government's ability to do capex, and that during the COVID and the post-COVID period, if the government had took the lead and did that, was very, very commendable. And now as we move on from 3.4 lakh crores, from 11 lakh crores, with 3.4% of capex spend, the great thing will be that slowly the private sector will take over this capex spending, to my mind, and that will be a smooth transition.
All right, Amitabh Kant.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.